Hey there, card readers. April here on Tarot and Witchery, and I have a brand new hashtag for the tarot community, and I'm calling it hashtag Deck FOMO. So, FOMO, first of all, let me just say I'm not very good with acronyms, and it took me about a year to catch on to this one. My kids kept pounding it into my head, but it really came home and roosted for me, fear of missing out, FOMO, when I really got obsessed with tarot and oracle over the last, I don't know, 6 years. So I've got 7 questions here. Not all of them are going to be easy to answer. And I'm really hoping that a lot of you will do a VR to this and we can just have fun with it. Question number 1, probably one of the more difficult ones on this tag, which is what is it that triggers Deck FOMO for you? And I've done a lot of thinking about Deck FOMO, that place that I get into where I'm just like, I'm really wanting a deck, or I'm really lusting after a deck, or I'm just kind of on a deck buying binge. How many of you out there can admit that you've had like deck buying binges? As a matter of fact, I went ahead and added up. I keep a cheat sheet of all the decks that I've ordered because for a while there, I was in such a frenzy of deck buying that I didn't even know the decks that I had ordered. So I now keep a cheat sheet, and I can tell you, this is embarrassing, you guys. Since December of 2021, I have ordered 42 decks. Yeah, that's a lot. Like, I was sitting there and thinking about it, and I was like, wow. Now, to be fair, like, 7 of those are Kickstarters. Some of those were pre-orders, and a lot of them are mass market. Still, that's a lot of decks. That's a lot of decks. So back to my question, you guys. What triggers Deck FOMO for me? So I did a lot of thinking about it because it had kind of gotten a little bit out of control, and I needed to really pinpoint why I had Deck FOMO and why I was getting it. I don't know if you can hear Hagrid. You guys, I'm so sorry, my Pomeranian. He is outside and he's just really obsessed with this squirrel. And the squirrel just runs from tree to tree, back and forth, and he just barks the whole time. I don't know how you do it. People who live in the city, we live out in the country, we have a dog door, 4 cats, 2 dogs, in and out all the time, just doing whatever the heck they want. I don't know how you would manage it in the city or how you'd keep them quiet. But again, I digress. Basically, all this peaked for me back in February. And I figured out that Deck FOMO is triggered by a couple of different things. First of all, getting on like a tarot tube junket where I'm just watching deck walkthroughs over and over again, like, oh, this brand new deck, that brand new deck. And I'm subscribed to a number of you that do a lot of walkthroughs, initial walkthroughs. And that was kind of triggering me, but that wasn't enough. I needed to dig a little bit deeper, like, well, that's nothing, like just seeing something, that's not enough. So what is it? So back in February, I really dug around and found that one of the things that triggers compulsive spending, because that's exactly what this is linked to for me, exactly what triggers compulsive spending for me is just a feeling of lack. So in February, I was really mourning the loss of my mom, which I do like every February. And that really triggered this sense of lack. And so I was looking for a distraction from the pain of that. I really was. I really had to dig in to kind of figure that out. Okay, so of course this is FOMO, fear of missing out. So what am I afraid of missing out on? And for me, I'm an Aries, and like I see something over there and I go, wow, that is really cool. And I've always been into personal development. And so for me, I'll see a deck and I'll think, oh, there's something there for me that I can uncover about myself through these cards. And I don't want to miss out on it. Like, wow, this deck is just going to be amazing to work with. And I'll like amp that up in my head. Or wow, there's another like fairy deck or whatever it is. And I just got to have it. Oh my gosh. Which brings me to question number 2. What is a deck purchase that you regret that occurred because of Deck FOMO? And I bought this deck, it's on Kickstarter. I actually don't even have it yet, but I regret it. And I regretted it about 60 seconds after I pushed back this. And I found there's no way to get out of backing something on Kickstarter other than like canceling your card, I guess. Yeah. So I was watching Dustin on Modern Metaphysicae, and he was talking about this deck. And he was talking about the Mystic Landscapes deck and going through and oohing and showing and talking about how great it was and how wonderful it was. And it's just landscapes, and it really is beautiful. And I started thinking about how great it would be for pathworking. I was like, oh, it's just beautiful. It's wonderful. So I go over there and I'm like distracted between like what's going on, and I'm kind of caught up in this, and it's coming to a close. And I go over there and I think, oh, this is a little bit on the expensive side, but hey, and I click fund this. And then I hear him talking about it because it's like actually playing, the video's playing in the background while I'm on another tab. And I hear him say, this is a majors only deck. Oh my God, I just freaked out. Like, I was so caught up in this fear of missing out that I didn't even read the description enough. I was just looking at the cards thinking, of course this is a full tarot deck for that much money, for $88. This is going to be a full tarot deck. So that was the moment. That was the moment for me where I was like, oh my God, this is just ridiculous. I have to deal with this issue with myself right now. Which brings me to question number 3, which is, how do you set limits? And so at that point, I thought I have to do something. I have to do something to set limits because I was not spending beyond my ability to spend. And let me just say, I have a tarot business. I teach tarot and I do readings, which is a great time to do a personal plug here. Hey, maybe you want to receive my weekly newsletter, The Whisper, where I have whisper tips every week on how to read tarot and oracle and how to get more witchiness into your life, as well as a weekly card. There's a link down below in the description box. So for me, I can write all this stuff off. And so that's kind of like this justification in my mind, like, oh, I can write this off. It's fine, gosh, it's great. But I had to do something to put limits on me. And so what I've begun doing is I began making a list of decks I want, and I put them off to the side. If it's a Kickstarter deck, I just heart it, and I allow Kickstarter to remind me, which isn't always good because then they're like, you just have 48 hours. And sometimes that will trigger FOMO where I'm like, oh my gosh, because isn't that what marketing does? It triggers a feeling of scarcity. FOMO, fear of missing out, and fear, which is false evidence appearing real. We'll get into that later. So I have a list, but the other thing that I've begun doing is I've begun curating my monthly reads because I was getting so many decks and I wasn't getting to them. And that wasn't working either. That felt very frustrating. It felt very overwhelming here in my studio, but it also felt disingenuous and dishonoring to the artists and to tarot itself by not actually using the decks that I had. And I don't want to be that person. So because I curate a read now every month, I make sure that I'm using some of the decks that I already have for that curation, and then I bring in something that's new. And so I purposely go out and I look for decks that are going to fit what I am doing for that curated read for the month. Question number 4, how many decks do you have? So this was good for me to do. I had to go count them up. And I think I have 126 tarot and oracle decks combined, not including the decks that are on order that I do not have yet. Probably about 10 more, maybe on the way. I don't know, isn't that terrible? I don't totally know. I do have my little chart over there. Which brings me to my next question, which is, how many decks do you need? Okay, so how many decks do I need? I thought about this and I was kind of like, maybe 6. Need. Like 2 oracle and 4 tarot. Like I need a variety of tarot because I feel like I need something different. However, that being said, this is what I do. This is my jam. I love it. I'm totally into it. And I feel like every deck that I buy brings me into a new relationship with the cards because I learn from the creator of that deck what they feel about tarot. I may not agree with it, but even that is a learning experience in itself. So I feel like, this is what I do. I love it. It's who I am right now. When I do something, I do it like 100%. I enjoy collecting decks. So for me, as long as I am leaving myself financially in a good place, like I'm getting ready to go to Spain in October. And so every time I go to purchase a deck, I think to myself, do I want this or do I want to put money into savings for that trip? So for me, it's really about allocating funds where they should go in my life to create the kind of life that I want to be living, to be responsible. I mean, we still have got one kid, we're almost done with college. We had 2 kids done in college, 1 that gets done in June, and then we have 2 left. Yeah, that's a total of 5. So, I need to be able to get my kids through college, or help them, I should say, because we're not doing it all. Help them get through college. And for me, I love this. I love collecting. It's something that is just really a part of me. And so this is what I'm doing. So how many do I need is kind of as many as I want. As many as I want. Which leads me to my next question, which is, name a deck that you got as a result of FOMO that turned out to be a good experience. And so for me, this is my deck. Whoop. So I happened to see an ad for the Grimlikins Tarot and the Guardians of the Night. So this was a sale that she was doing where it's like, if you buy the Grimlikins, you get the Guardians of the Night for free. Or maybe it was the other way around. I don't know. But buy one, get one free tarot was like, oh my gosh. Now, I love MJ. I wasn't really particularly familiar with this, but I went ahead and took a gamble on it. It was definitely one of those things that I just got whoosh, caught up in the sale and ordered it. And I actually am so happy I did. I thought the Grimlikins Tarot was going to be the one that really was the big deal for me because I love cats, but it has been the Guardians of the Night Tarot. This is the first animal deck that I've jived with. And it's really because of MJ's writing. I think that she's brilliant. She really knows tarot. And so every deck I get from her, I find the cards are wonderful. First of all, I love that she sort of shares about her process. Like, I was meditating and I got this vision for this card. And it really it brings you into her heart, the heart that she has for tarot, the relationship that she's developed. And then it allows you to really expand on your own knowledge. And this has just been great. I love her as an artist, and I think this sale is still going on. So let me just say, as Gerald would say, hashtag know your limits, hashtag purchase responsibly. My last question, number 7, is kind of a free-for-all, and it's, what do you think about the deck FOMO phase that our community seems to be in right now? Now, maybe I'm really egocentric, but I feel like deck FOMO is something that is going around. It's kind of like a bug that's caught. I don't remember deck FOMO really being a thing. Don't remember it. I feel like it's been more because of the pandemic. I feel as though we got into this because we were at home and that FOMO really took over, that fear of missing out. And again, back to fear, false evidence appearing real. The idea that we were missing out on something because we were in many ways starving for connection in the world. That for many of us, we turn to consumerism, which is something that we have been conditioned to do in this society. I do think there are a lot of decks coming out that there weren't for a long time. Like, there just weren't the plethora of decks to choose from, and that has contributed to deck FOMO because there's so many out there to choose from. Just like anything else, the bubble pops, or at least it does for me, and it kind of did. I mean, I'm still ordering, but I'm just very, very conscious about how I order now and what I do. There's still times I just click and buy. I mean, it's just so easy on Amazon, and you're like, oh, it's $19, click, Why not? I'll check it out. And if I hate it, I can send it back. But I do feel like this is a phase in our community. And I think it's linked to this desire for connection. And again, our social conditioning to self-soothe through purchasing. And so those are kind of my thoughts on deck FOMO. And I did want to end on this. And I wanted to encourage each one of you out there to kind of think about what are your parameters for a deck. What deck do you really need next? Like, what you know, you've had an experience with your decks, and now are you ready? Are you actually ready for something new? You know, I kind of ask myself, that's why I've curated for the month, and I only read with the decks that I pull out for that month. I commit to that for the purpose of doing that work and having that experience fully before I move on. So do you need to move on? And then what do you need to move on to? Like what is calling you? What kind of experience are you looking for next? And can you enjoy the journey of hunting that down, like finding that, really allowing that to be part of the magic of what you're doing and being, is finding that next deck and looking forward to developing a relationship with it. Just a thought. Let me know. I want to hear it. Fire back at me. I'm just hoping there'll be lots of responses to this out there. Go ahead and tag me in the video. That if you do a video response to this, please tag me. I'm going to make a playlist and I will put your video in that playlist so that people can see your video as well. And I'm excited to see what all of you have to say about this, because I feel like it is a part of our consciousness right now in our card reading, because you could be Oracle or Tarot, our card reading community. I do feel like this is kind of a syndrome that we are experiencing currently. Until we meet again, may you search out the deck that is perfect for you. Find something that really speaks to you, that you're ready for. May you listen to the messages of your cards and be brave enough to live out their truths. Jesus, I can't stand it. Hagrid, knock it off now! No!